तो सबसे पहला है, राइट द हेडिंग एज फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ मेटल्स। ओके, इसमें सबसे पहला जो फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टी है दैट इज, फर्स्ट लिखना फिजिकल स्टेट। अब फिजिकल स्टेट में सबसे पहले चीज, मेटल्स जनरली कौन से स्टेट में रहते हैं? सॉलिड स्टेट। मेटल्स कौन से स्टेट में रहते हैं? सॉलिड स्टेट में। अब इसमें एक्सेप्शन है। एक्सेप्शन कौन है? दैट इज मर्क्यूरी एंड गैलियम। दीज टू आर लिक्विड at room temperature, that is 25 degrees Celsius. Second is hardness. Okay, metals ये क्या रहते हैं? बहुत हार्ड रहते हैं, ठीक है? मेटल्स आर वेरी हार्ड। अब इसमें there is exception, that is sodium, potassium and lithium. These are soft, can be cut with knife.
Sir,
हाँ बोलो।
so we have to write.
थर्ड लिखना हार्डनेस के बाद, द थर्ड पॉइंट इज डेंसिटी। In density, metals have high density. Okay? Metals का जो density है ये high रहता है, but there is exception. यहाँ पे सोडियम, पोटेशियम एंड लिथियम, इनका जो डेंसिटी है ये वाटर से लेस है। डेंसिटी इज लेस देन वाटर। लिथियम का डेंसिटी इज 0.53 ग्राम पर सीसी। वाटर का 1 ग्राम पर सीसी रहता है, लिथियम का इट इज 0.53 ग्राम पर सीसी। Okay. The fourth point is melting and boiling point. तो मेटल्स का जो मेल्टिंग एंड बॉइलिंग पॉइंट है ये वेरी हाई है। अब इसमें कुछ एक्सेप्शंस है। दैट इज मर्क्यूरी, गैलियम, दे आर लो मेल्टिंग एंड बॉइलिंग पॉइंट। नेक्स्ट इज गुड कंडक्टर्स ऑफ, इधर लिखना कंडक्टर्स ऑफ heat and electricity. तो metals जो है these are good conductors. अब इसमें भी एक्सेप्शन है। एक्सेप्शन लिखना सबसे पहले, इट इज, यहाँ पे लिख सकते हो एक्सेप्शन में यू कैन राइट lead is a bad conductor. Next is property number 6, that is ductility. Ductility का मीनिंग क्या है? सबसे पहले चीज, can be drawn into thin wires. Thin wires. ये कहाँ पे यूज किया जाता है? For making jewelry and wire. Example में it is copper, gold and you can write silver. Seventh is malleability. Okay, malleability क्या रहता है? Property of convert of metals getting converted into thin sheet. Into thin sheet. Okay, इसमें एग्जाम्पल क्या है? एल्यूमिनियम, जो आप फॉइल पेपर में यूज करते हैं। फिर इसके बाद मेरे साथ इतना काफी है। केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ मेटल। सबसे फर्स्ट जो इंपॉर्टेंट प्रॉपर्टी है, मेटल्स लूज इलेक्ट्रॉन। आगे आप लिख सकते हो, इसको आप बोलते क्या हो? कैटायंस। इसके वजह से ये जो आयंस है, ये क्या है? इलेक्ट्रोपॉजिटिव है। एन एग्जाम्पल इज ऑफ सोडियम। सोडियम क्या करता है? इट डोनेट्स 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन। Another example is magnesium. Magnesium donates 2 electrons. And aluminium. Aluminium donates 3 electrons. अब इसका रीजन क्या है? कि सोडियम का जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉन्फ़िगरेशन है 2,8,1 रहता है, तो आउटर मोस्ट इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉन्फ़िगरेशन स्टेबल होने के लिए इट डोनेट्स इस 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन। For magnesium it is 2,8,2, so it donates 2 electrons. Aluminium is 2,8,3, so it donates its 3 electrons. So it will have a stable electronic configuration. Okay, now comes the second property, metals reaction with oxygen. Reaction with oxygen. First is we'll write down the general reaction. जनरल रिएक्शन क्या है? कि मेटल जब ऑक्सीजन के साथ रिएक्ट करेगा तो ये यहां पे फॉर्म करेगा मेटल ऑक्साइड। नाउ दिस मेटल ऑक्साइड इट इज बेसिक, दैट मीन्स इट इज अ बेस। ओके, नाउ इफ सपोज आई रिएक्ट अ मेटल ऑक्साइड with an acid, so let's consider कोई भी एसिड लो, तो अभी के लिए एसिड ले लेना। ओके, it gives rise to metal oxide acts as a base, so base plus acid it gives rise to salt and water. Okay, so what is this type of reaction called? So this type of reaction is called as neutralization reaction. Always remember, acid plus base, it always gives rise to salt and water. So I'll give you an example. That is sodium. Sodium, it reacts with oxygen. It forms sodium oxide. It is also called as sodium oxide. Suppose हमने क्या किया? सोडियम ऑक्साइड, ठीक है, सोडियम ऑक्साइड acts as a base. If suppose I react it with say HCl, यहां पे फॉर्म होएगा सोडियम क्लोराइड एंड इधर फॉर्म होएगा वाटर. This is the salt. This is also called as hydrochloric Okay. Now the third part, that is metals reaction with water. Water के साथ कैसे reaction करेगा? There is certain type of reaction which you have to remember. That is metals like sodium and potassium. If they react with water, what happens is sodium and potassium, these are alkali metals. So if they react with water, they form sodium hydroxide. This is a alkali, or you can say a base which dissolves in water. Alkali का meaning क्या है? Base which dissolves in water. And इसके साथ ही साथ यहाँ पे क्या होएगा? हाइड्रोजन गैस रिलीज होएगा. Hydrogen gas we always represented by an upward arrow. Okay, this water over here which is used is cold water. Now, for example, if we take magnesium and calcium, these are called as alkaline earth metal. If they react with water, here also alkali is formed. We'll take one example, that is magnesium hydroxide. Okay, even this is what? An alkali. And over here, hydrogen gas is also released. Now we'll go to the second part. Sorry, the third part. Okay, if suppose metals like, okay, and this water over here which is used is warm water. Suppose for iron, zinc, and aluminium, these are just normal metals. Here, the water that is used is in the form of gas. Water in gas state is called as steam. So over here, if this reacts, it forms, I'll just give an example, it forms oxide. And write metal oxide. And over here, hydrogen gas is released. So right up till here. These are all general reactions. हेडिंग डालो नॉन मेटल्स करके. इससे पहले हम लोग करेंगे नॉन मेटल्स का जो फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज है. तो नॉन मेटल्स का क्या क्या फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज है? फर्स्ट इज इसका फिजिकल स्टेट कैसा है. सबसे फर्स्ट इज non-metals, it exists in all the three states. The first is solid. Solid mein there is carbon, sulfur and phosphorus. Then in liquid state, even iodine comes over here. In liquid state, there is bromine. In gaseous state, there is helium, neon, argon, then there is oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. All these gases count, and many more are there, but right now just remember this. Second is they have the property of brittleness. अब brittleness का मीनिंग क्या है कि जब आप उस पर प्रेशर अप्लाई करते हो, ये किस में कन्वर्ट होता है? पाउडर में. तो आप लिख सकते हो when hammered it converts into powder. जैसे कि कोल का एक पीस अगर आप उसको हैमर से मारोगे तो आपको क्या मिलेगा? ब्लैक कलर का पाउडर मिलेगा. थर्ड इज हार्डनेस. Okay. Non-metals are generally soft. Non-metals are soft, but over here there is an exception. That is carbon in diamond form. It is the hardest substance. Naturally occurring substance. Okay. Fourth is luster. Non-metals are non-lustrous. They don't have any luster. Non-metals, no luster. But even here there is an exception. So the exception is, you can write down iodine. It is in the form of a violet crystal. And the other is carbon in diamond form. Even that is a crystal. Even that has shine. Fifth, conductors of heat and electricity. Conductors of heat and electricity. In this, you can write down non-metals are bad conductors. Even in this, there is an exception. That is carbon in graphite form. It is a good conductor of electricity. Now, the sixth point, that will be melting point and boiling point. So, non-metals, they have low melting and boiling point. So, you can write down low melting and boiling point. Even in this, there is an exception. So, the exception is boron and carbon in Konza form, diamond form. These have very high melting and chemical properties. Non-metals. Okay, अब इसमें सबसे first property is non-metals accept electrons. That means they form anions, and if they accept electrons, they become electronegative. Okay, an example will be nitrogen. It accepts 3 electrons and it becomes N3 minus. Oxygen, it accepts 2 electrons, so it becomes O raised to 2 minus. Then there is chlorine. Chlorine, it accepts 1 electron and it becomes Cl minus. Nitrogen, electronic configuration is 2, 5. If it accepts 3 electrons, it will become 2, 8. Oxygen is 2, 6. If it accepts 2 electrons, it will become 2, 8. Chlorine, its atomic number is 17. That is 2, 8, 7. If it accepts 1 electron, it will become 2, 8, 8. Okay, now the second is non-metals reaction with oxygen. Reaction with oxygen. So what happens is non-metals, when they react with oxygen, I'll just write the general reaction. So non-metals, when they react with oxygen, they form metal oxide. Sorry, non-metal oxide. Non-metal oxide. So very simple example is carbon. If it reacts with oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide. Sulfur, it reacts with oxygen, it forms sulfur dioxide. Both these oxides, always remember, non-metal oxides are acidic. You can write it as a point. Non-metal oxides are acidic. Now, the next point is, if we react a non-metal oxide, which is a acid, एसिड को किसके साथ रिएक्ट करेंगे हम लोग? एक बेस के साथ. ओके, यहाँ पे फॉर्म होएगा एसिड प्लस बेस, न्यूट्रलाइजेशन रिएक्शन होता है, तो यहाँ पे सॉल्ट एंड वाटर फॉर्म. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस. ओके, टेक वन एग्जांपल, दैट इज कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. इट रिएक्ट्स विद सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड. ओके, दिस विल फॉर्म सोडियम कार्बोनेट एंड इसके साथ ही साथ वाटर फॉर्म होएगा. ये जो है, दिस विल एक्ट एज द सॉल्ट. दिस पार्ट ओवर हियर, it will act as the base, and CO2, it will act as the acid. Okay, now the third reaction, one second. Non-metals oxides, non-metal oxides, when they react with water. So non-metal oxide, if it reacts with water, it forms acid. An example is carbon dioxide plus H2O, it forms H2CO3, which is called as carbonic acid. Okay, next is SO2. If it reacts with H2O, it forms H2SO3. It is called as sulfuric acid. Write down H2SO4, write down. The other is NO2. If it reacts with H2O, it forms HNO3, which is also called as nitric. तो ये थोड़ा करेक्शन करो, यहाँ पे H2SO3 आएगा, also called as sulfurous acid. करेक्शन करना, sulfurous acid. And SO3 plus H2O, it will form sulfuric acid. सबसे फर्स्ट हेडिंग डालो, करोजन करके लिखना. करोजन में लिखो मेटल किसके साथ रिएक्ट करते? रिएक्ट विद gases in atmosphere.
Sir,
हाँ बोलो.
can I close my video for 1
Yeah,
minute?
no problem. In presence of moisture. Moisture is basically what? Water. Okay, and get damaged. This process is called as corrosion. Okay, तो यहाँ पे सबसे पहला एग्जाम्पल was of iron. Iron, it reacts with oxygen and it forms Fe2O3. It is also called as iron oxide. It is also called as rust. And it is which color? It is red in color. Second is copper reacts with oxygen and it forms copper oxide. This copper oxide, it reacts with carbon dioxide and it forms copper carbonate. This is poisonous. It is which color? It is green in color, and plus it is also named as copper carbonate. Okay, the third one is silver. It reacts with hydrogen sulfide and it forms silver sulfide and releases hydrogen gas. Okay, this silver sulfide, this is black in color. It is also known as silver sulfide. Okay, how can you prevent corrosion? So there are methods. So the first method is by applying paint, varnish, grease, or oil, okay, over the metal surface. This is the first method. The second method is plating. Yeah, you can write it as electroplating. In electroplating, what we do is we apply non-corroding metal over the other metal. It is called as electroplating. And the third point, by alloying. Now, what is alloying? You can write down. Alloy is a mixture of, yeah, you can write 1 second, write down. Homogeneous mixture of metal and non-metal, or metal and metal. Okay, examples are, first is stainless steel. It is made up of iron, carbon, chromium, and nickel. Next is brass. Brass is made up of copper and zinc. Next is bronze. Bronze is made up of copper and tin. Write the heading as noble metals. इसमें लिखो metals like rhodium, platinum, palladium, gold, silver. These are all noble metals. They are found in elemental state. That means they do not mix with anything. Okay, pure state. You can write down elemental state, or you can write down pure state. Gold, pure gold. Okay, pure gold is very soft. So that's why it is mixed with copper and okay, pure gold. This is how much? 24 carat. Okay. And in jewelry, we use 22 carat gold. Or you can write down gold is mixed with copper. Take a screenshot of this.